Hey team, and welcome to the video version of the Funnily Enough podcast. This is where you get the raw, unedited version of the interviews that we do on the show. If you're more of an audio person, then head over to Apple Podcasts or any of the platforms that you like that supports podcasting, and you can listen to the fully edited thing there with intros, outros, and all the fun little jingles. However, if you're more of a video person, then that is coming right up. Rand Fishkin, welcome to the Funnily Enough show. How are you, sir?
Very well. Thanks for having me, Gavin.
It is an absolute pleasure. Let's just get straight into the serious stuff. So, Rand, you're a whiskey man.
I
I'm
am.
not. I'm not a whiskey man. Yeah, I'm the Scottish one. So, give me a little bit of wisdom. What whiskey should I go out and buy if I want to start liking whiskey?
Uh,
Or
well,
what?
I don't think anyone should be forced to like anything that they don't like. But I will say that my favorite producer for sure is Springbank. They're out of
Springbank.
Campbelltown, but they are the last major independent distiller and bottler left in Scotland. Almost everyone else has been bought up by one of the big conglomerates, which is not to say they still don't make great whiskey, right?
Yeah.
Lagavulin makes an amazing whiskey despite being, a massive distributor, and I think they're owned by InBev or whoever owns Guinness or something like that, right? But hey, they still make good stuff. But Springbank is independent, and that makes them extraordinary and special in ways in ways big and small, right? Everything from the taste and the flavor to where you can buy it to your cost compared to their cost. It's just kind of, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I'm someone, I don't know how much you followed me, right? But I love small. I don't love big.
Yeah. No, I'm very much the same. The reason I ask is because I started drinking coffee maybe 2 years ago, and before I did, I hated it. Uh,
Sure, right? Yeah,
yeah, until somebody introduced me to the small independent coffee shops, and I know you've spent some time in Edinburgh. There's some amazing ones,
there are.
and yeah, that's just put me on this journey of coffee drinking. That I've met so many people, had amazing experiences through coffee, a drink that I feel like if I could get to like whiskey, I might enjoy some of those experiences even more. Um, so I'll remember
I
that one.
Yeah, I will say the other one that you might check out. There's a Japanese company. Japan is sort of famous for having all these very very passionate crafters and creators who see something that they love and then try and replicate it and do it even better, which is why the best pizza you will ever have is in Tokyo. Odd enough, but
Good to know.
there's a company called Nika that makes an excellent whiskey. Tastes like vanilla to me, just amazing.
All right, I am definitely going to try that.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for the
I'll
recommendation.
send you the details. You can put it on your list. But yeah, I
Amazing.
do. I love the experience of it as well, right? So last night I was over at the house of one of my investors here in Seattle, a guy who was a co-founder of Urban Spoon. I don't know if you remember
Not
that
heard of them.
company, but they were relatively popular for a while. They're sort of a competitor to Yelp in the food and restaurant space, and so naturally he's very passionate about cooking and food. I came over and they've got this just like wall of whiskey, and he had me try a bunch of them, and then he gave me a bottle. He gave me a bottle of the one I liked best, and it
Legend.
was such a sweet, kind, fun, interactive experience. A great way to get to know someone better. So I think,
I
look, whether
totally.
you love whiskey or alcohol or tea or coffee, I don't care, right? Baked goods, cookies, what have you. I think that food and those experiences can be a wonderful shared.
Yeah, I love it. I was watching a video today by a guy called Matt Diavella, and the title of the video was "I quit caffeine for 30 days," and he was basically sharing the journey of not drinking coffee.
Yeah,
And to cut the story short, he was like, "Okay, I got a headache after a few days, and then after that, I was fine." But the main thing I missed about the coffee was drinking the coffee and enjoying it and the social thing that happens when friends get together and drink
Yeah.
coffee. So we could actually speak like 25 minutes on just whiskey and coffee, I'm sure.
Well, and on the experience of networking, right? I think
Yeah,
one of the greatest things you can do as a business owner is to build up the people, the connections that you have in the world around you. And I think this is why conferences and events are so huge, despite the rise of technologies like the one we're using, right, Zoom, to have this chat. You know, yes, technically we're getting all the same things, right? I can see your eyes, I can watch you nod, you can see my office, right? It's much more convenient. Neither of us had to drive, we didn't have to get on a plane. And yet this connection, as real as it might be, is nothing like what we would have if we were in person together.
totally.
It
So
just
like this.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work the same way. And so I think there's a real power to that.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, it's why I and you and many other people fly the other side of the world to shake a hand, to give
Yeah,
a.
exactly. I mean, the last three or four summers I've been to Edinburgh, right, for Turing Fest, and that is a challenging journey from Seattle, but hey, it's worth it,
You
right?
make it happen. Amazing. Well, let's dive into, um, I guess, what you're known for and what people listening have probably heard you speak about on stage, being at Turing. I was reading an article of yours. It was I can't remember when it was, a couple of years ago, and one of the things I just found it really interesting was you spoke about not creating content for your customers, but instead creating content for journalists, podcasters, authors, people that can amplify your message out to a wider audience. And I just found it super interesting because I think common the most common thing when it comes to coming up with a content strategy is to create for your customers.
Yeah.
So I want to know, or for the audience, what does that actually look like? Let's say that we've got a local business or somebody that offers online courses, for example. What would an article or a video that's for the authors, the podcasters, the bloggers look like versus one that's written for a customer?
Yeah, I think when you're writing for an audience that is amplification likely, you are trying to tap into a few things. One absolutely can be ego, right? So you can play to a company or a person right. If you're, let's say, for example, that you are writing about web marketing, and you think to yourself, "Gosh, it would be really great if I could get Rand to amplify this." You know, the one very easy, very small thing that's not necessarily going to work, but might tilt things in your favor is to include references to things that person has written, right? So you might quote something, you might reference something that person built, you might link over to their work, right? And that sort of creates that, oh, wow, that's this person is saying nice things about me, or is recognizing the work that I've done. That's going to help. One of the things that you absolutely have to do is sort of tap into the zeitgeist, right? What is happening in their world that is an ongoing conversation that has real meaning and drives a lot of engagement, right? So in the web marketing world, that might be issues around public policy and the tech giants,
Yep.
right? It might be around security and privacy. That's been driving a whole bunch of stuff recently, especially the last 3-4 months. It might be around the growth of the industry size and the growth and competitiveness. It might be one of the things that I've been talking about a lot that's gotten a lot of traction, because I think many people are feeling it, is the loss of opportunity that is caused by sort of Google entering everyone's market, right, and taking clicks and traffic away from them. That can work in, I have no idea what it's like in the architectural world. Who knows if, I don't know, maybe Bauhaus is coming back, whatever it is, right? But you recognize that there's some sort of zeitgeist and conversations going on. The third thing I would recommend is you want to create content that makes the sharer look good when they share it, right?
Okay.
So when I share a unique study about online behavior that has interesting notes about how, I don't know, Chrome users do this and Firefox users do that. Okay, that's mildly interesting. If I show behavior of how people click in the search results, well, that's more interesting, as that affects more people, and that makes me look smarter. Even if I didn't create it, it makes me look smart when I share it out, right? It's likely to get amplification for the amplifier. That is absolutely one of the biggest ones, right? If you can tap into that, you can sail across the web.
Well, I love it. So it's, I guess, for the people that are listening, what you're describing there is almost just a form of influencer marketing, but not in the sense of sending in quote unquote influencers boxer
Yeah.
shorts and
You're
pictures
not
of.
paying half naked people on Instagram to post photos with your brand name,
Exactly.
which
Exactly.
is it's weird that that's what influencer marketing turned into, right?
I know.
Do you
It's
remember like 10 years ago, if we said influencer marketing, what we mostly meant was go find influential sources and get them to amplify you? And now,
now it's all about the naked Instagram pic.
yeah, I can't quite figure it. And Instagram and Pinterest both are so strange to me, right? Because the content on there is always, it's half naked people who are very, very slender. They clearly don't eat. And then lots of pictures of fatty foods.
Yes,
Right? Like
that's so
those are the
true.
kind of two things that I see so much of, and I find out it's like,
And I feel
oh
like
man,
you get a big crossover between like the skinny girl eating a big burger. It's like you probably didn't even
right?
eat that.
Or the guy with 2% body fat, right, going out and I don't know, yeah, eating this ice cream or what
Ten
have you.
thousand calorie challenge. It's like
Yeah, 10, exactly.
you definitely did
So
not
that's
eat
a
that.
very. I'm not quite sure I understand humanity all that well.
I feel like Instagram could like is a completely different culture to
Yes.
everywhere else. But let's talk. Let me dig a little bit deeper into that. So, the idea of I totally get the idea of this. Let me just call it influencer marketing. I know it's slightly different, but for the sake of a better term. So, for the people that are listening, I'm going to imagine that the majority of them are creating some sort of content. They're probably blogging or making some sort of videos, but they're
Yeah.
probably not doing as effectively and efficiently as they are. I mean, who is, right? And I feel like we're often told we should be doing a million and one different things. We should be creating this, creating that, creating for Google, not creating for Google, creating for the person, or in this case, creating for the podcasters and media people. Do you have like a Rand Fishkin content strategy in 1 or 2 minutes? Like if somebody is sat, if I'm,
Yeah.
let's say I'm a business owner and I've been blogging for 6 months, just kind of on and off, non-consistently with no real strategy. What's like the first step or two that I should take to
Yeah. I
get
think too
everything?
many. I think far too many business owners and up and coming marketers, people who are content creators and content marketers, they get in this they get this idea in their head that what they're supposed to do is consistently produce um, good unique content, right? I think that's because Google repeats that a lot. Many content marketers repeat that a lot, and I actually think that's not at all what you should be doing,
Okay,
right?
interesting.
That is um, it's sort of um, a truth that hides a falsehood, right? So yes, once you get good at creating content and you can consistently earn amplification and you have wide reach, then absolutely you should be repetitively producing more unique good stuff that your audience and their amplifiers care about, right? Their influencers care about. But before you do that, I think the best place to start is to find the intersection of three things for yourself, for you personally, the content creator, the business owner, especially small business, right? And that is something I am personally passionate about, right? If you just don't care at all about Twitter, or you really hate blogging, you're never going to be great at it. I have never seen someone who's like, well, I have a very successful blog, but I hate doing it. You know,
Yeah.
No, that just doesn't happen, right? The people who get good at something are those who already have some passion around it. So if your passion is, oh, I love photography, great. Maybe the visual platforms are better for you. Oh, I love conversations. Okay, well then Twitter and LinkedIn may be excellent sources for you. Maybe Reddit too. Oh, I really like creating research and studies and facts and figures. Okay, well maybe not a blog. Maybe what you want is a data site, right? A data-driven sort of content site that is regularly producing white papers and studies. Maybe what you're good at is webinars, right? You're great at slide decks. Hey, a webinar series could be an excellent way to acquire customers for you, right? And you can publish those decks and reuse the visuals inside them and all those kinds of things. But you've got to find that area of passion. The second piece, right, in this, like, there's 3 circles to this Venn diagram, you want the very middle. The second piece is you need to find an area where your customers are actually paying attention, right? So if, oh, I love wildlife photography. Well, that's awesome, but there's not a lot of, my customers, I have this company SparkToro, right? Not a lot of my customers with a lot of intersection on wildlife photography. So I probably need to keep searching, right? Find something else, right? And when I can find something where my audience does pay attention and I'm passionate about it, the third piece that I need is somewhere where I'm creating unique value that my competitors are not offering. Right? So you find the intersection of those 3 spaces. I have personal passion, right? My audience is paying attention, and my competitors are not doing this yet. Now you have something special, and you don't have to be producing content every day or every week, even every month. I've seen very, very successful companies, even at scale, who basically produce large content pieces once a quarter.
Wow.
Right, and have tremendous success with that. Look at what's the internet trends, Mary Meeker, right? That comes out once a year, but it's such a big piece, right? It's such an expansive thing that so many people pay attention to that it has basically built up her brand and the brand of the companies that she's worked at. I think she's worked at 2 different venture firms over the course of the last 15 years. People look forward to it every year when it comes out. No one expects anything in between. Once a year, right? So that is entirely possible as well.
Okay, so just to paint that picture quickly then, would that look, as an example, I'm passionate about making video, so I'm going to make video. In fact, no, let me scrap that. So I'm passionate about writing, so I want to write a blog. My audience are on the Media Examiner website, for example, and then there's hundreds of blogs on there. So can I create something that's unique and different to the blogs that are on there? Would that be painting a picture?
That's exactly right. You found an area of passion. You know that your customers are already engaging with that type of content, right? That they consume written material on blogs regularly, that they find it through these different means, right? And you found one channel, at least one channel, where you can promote and regularly get traction. And you've found some unique advantage, right? A competitive, compelling competitive advantage.
I love that.
Gives you a unique value proposition.
I think I am still here, but I think my my camera may have froze. Am I moving?
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get that back on. That's the wrong camera, but never mind. We'll stick to that. So with that in mind, I'm going to interrupt. I'm back. We're going to interrupt proceedings and play a game. Rand, this is one of my favorite games. It's called the 5-second rule. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever played it before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so the rules are simple. I'm going to read out a list of different statements, 10 of them. And they might be things like name 3 types of bird. Totally random. I have no idea what they are. You have 5 seconds to give me your answer.
Ooh, this sounds challenging.
Yeah, and you're competing.
Slow thinker, but all right, I'll do my best.
You're competing against some pretty smart guests as well. So, first question, which is not part of the game. Do you want to go red cards or do you want to go yellow cards? The yellow ones are slightly harder.
Sure, why not? In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's do yellow.
Let's do yellow. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Name 3 words that rhyme with last.
Last. Past. Avast. Mast.
You got it. That was a big second word there. Name three ways.
Avast me, mateys.
Name 3 ways to waste money.
3 ways to waste money: video games, gambling, and
Time,
tobacco.
time out, time out. That's how fast you've got. Name 3 3-letter words.
3 3-letter words.
Yeah.
To the tie.
I'm going to give you that because you didn't understand my dulcet Scottish.
I do. I mean, I love your accent. It's just it's a little challenging over Zoom sometimes.
Okay. Name 3 writing utensils.
Pen, pencil, chalk.
Nice. Name 3 summer Olympic events.
Running.
Time out on that one.
Oh wait, I know the Summer Olympics. All right, long jump, high jump. No,
Yeah.
I don't know the Summer Olympics.
Are you more of a Winter Olympics man?
I do kind of enjoy the Winter Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Ice skating, downhill skiing. What's the one where is it called skeleton?
Oh, I don't know.
You know
Bobsleigh?
what I'm talking about? Where they're sort of on this little board and they go down the ice cavern.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's called skeleton.
That sounds cool. I'm going to Google that after. I'll watch some skeleton and drink some whiskey. Next up, name 3 things you might find at a car boot sale. Oh,
I don't even know what a car boot sale is.
You don't know what a car boot? That would be the equivalent of a garage sale.
Oh, a garage sale. All right. A record player, Mattel toys from the 80s, and
time is out, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Name 3 things that rhyme with stone.
Bone.
It's a tough game.
Alone and moan. These are 3 terrible words that no one should be forced to say in 5 seconds together. This game is more embarrassing than I thought it would be.
Well, this one's tough. I don't think I would get this, but you never know. You might be into your precious crystals. Name 3 precious gemstones.
Sapphires, rubies, emeralds.
Wow. I wouldn't have got that. Name 3 brands of cosmetics.
MAC, Glossier, and Nivea.
Nice.
Yeah. Is Nivea a cosmetics brand? I think they are. I know they make skincare stuff.
I would say so.
Yeah, personal care brand? Okay.
Same thing. And final one, name 3 animals you would not want as a pet.
30 to 50 feral hogs.
What is that?
That's got to be the right answer.
Fair. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you, Rand.
Tell me, Gavin, tell me that 30 to 50 feral hogs was also trending on Scottish Twitter.
I don't know. I never saw it.
I mean, it was probably my favorite meme in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, you gotta check out 30 to 50 feral hogs.
You're giving me far too many things to go Google after this. Amazing. Well, Rand Fishkin, you scored 7 out of 10. Which,
wow, did I?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, that's a good score. That's a good score. Okay, let's get back into the chat. So, for those of you who are watching, I'm holding up Rand's book right now, Lost and Founder. I got this book, Rand, when I was speaking at Brighton SEO last year, 2 years ago. And it's just such a good book. It's exactly what you say on the front cover, a painfully honest field guide to the startup world. That's pretty much exactly what it is. I just love how transparent you are in it, how honest you are in it. And I think when people look at speakers, influencers, authors, big names in the marketing space, whatever you want to call them, often there's I feel like there's often a misunderstanding that those people are alpha male. They're amazing. They are totally like, you look up to them, you can't touch them, and they're almost like superheroes.
Yeah.
And I think actually speakers and things probably don't do themselves justice with that by kind of putting on this alpha male, everything's great kind of mentality. So what I wanted to ask you was, Where did the bravery come? And if you haven't read the book, I recommend you go and read it so you understand why I'm asking these questions. But where did the bravery come for you in sharing the lessons that you've shared in the book? And is that natural for you? Is that something you've had to learn to force out to write the book?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably if you had been following the blog that I wrote, which used to be SEO Moz and then became the Moz blog, and I sort of switched over to my personal blog a few years ago. I think you'd find that my bias has always been to that sort of painful level of transparency and intimacy, and I think that it really stems from this discomfort and pain of having in my as a kid and growing up in my teenage years in my early 20s, um, having a lot of things to hide, right? Feeling like I couldn't be honest, feeling like I had to pretend to be something that I wasn't, that I had to pretend that our business was bigger and more important and more impressive than it was.
Why did you think you had to do that?
I'm not entirely sure. I think we are socialized
Mm.
culturally, both as I think both as men, right? Because that's there's like something about being a man that is this, oh, you're presenting an image of great strength and of indefatigability and indomitableness, and I kind of hate that, right? I think that a lot of people have started in the recent generation to call that toxic masculinity, right?
Yep.
But when I was growing up, I didn't know what that was. I didn't have really a concept or any anyone I looked up to, whether it be celebrities or people in television and movies or in my family, right? Who sort of acted that way. Maybe the only exception was like Mr. Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers was like he's just kind and friendly and honest and and doesn't try and pretend to be anything else. But the that pain of trying to be that person, right, and trying to present this other image is what made me swing the pendulum all the other entirely the other way and try and be as transparent, as open, and as sharing as I could be. And I think part of that is also because a big part of my mission with Moz and SparkToro and my entire career is help other people, right? I think that's both a selfish thing, right? I think that I and my business will do better when I help other people, and a selfless thing, which is I want to be able to look in the mirror every night and feel like, hey, you did a good job. You helped somebody. Somebody's life is better. Somebody's career is better because of you. And one of the best ways that I felt like I could do that, especially as Moz began to be, to go from like this meteoric rise and success to sort of more of a plateau and kind of a little bit of a stuck in the middle sort of venture-backed company, was to share the ugly parts, right? The parts that no one wants to talk about, the parts that I had never heard any venture-backed entrepreneur, anyone running a company in 7-8 digits of revenue talk about openly, and that frustrated me. I kind of hate that we all pretend that things are going well, that especially in Silicon Valley speak, right, that everyone's crushing it all the time. I hate that shit, man. It bothers me so much when I know that if we go out for a drink together, have a whiskey, have a coffee, what I'm going to hear from that other entrepreneur is,
Struggles.
man, I am really struggling. Things are hard. This sucked. I had a bad experience, right? I wish people would talk more about that in their public persona, on stages, on Twitter, on their blogs, but instead it's all a front.
Yeah, and I think they do it thinking that it means people are going to think they're invincible and great. But actually, I feel whenever somebody comes out and talks about or comes from a vulnerable perspective, it just makes you go, they are human after all. And that connection is then 10 times deeper than what it ever would be. Because like you say, you go for it, you go with a friend and you have a cup of
Yeah.
coffee, whiskey with a friend, and that's what you talk about because you have that deep connection.
I mean, intimacy comes from vulnerability,
Mm.
right? The way that, for example, the way that you and I would build a friendship, right, is we would share things about ourselves that are um, embarrassing, right? That are our fears, our concerns, our weaknesses. That builds the kind of friendship where every time we see each other after that, we're like, how's it going, man? Like, hey, I really care about you. I want things to be good for you. If instead we have coffee and we're like, oh, yeah, I raised this money. Oh, I know this person. Oh, yeah, we had dinner at their house. You know, name dropping and you know, I don't know what that's called, one-upsmanship. That does not create any real relationship, right? I don't think that creates real relationships one-on-one. I don't think it creates real relationships broadly. I mean, I say this, but also Donald Trump is our president, so maybe I'm wrong about that, right? That is the least vulnerable person, at least, you know, and transparent person that I can think has ever been president. So I don't know. Maybe it's maybe there's only a certain type of person that resonates with, but that's the kind of person I care about.
I think that's what it is all about. Is who are your people? Who do you want
Yeah.
to be your people? Amazing. Yeah. Rand, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here, and I feel like I could speak to you for hours, but I need to keep.
I mean, I do really want to hear all about Boris Johnson and what Scotland thinks about him. So,
well, next time you come to Scotland, you might need to get a visa or whatever it is if we become an independent country.
Is that possible?
There is definitely talk of another independence referendum on the horizon. So
wow.
maybe it'll certainly be. Yeah, I think all you need to do is go to Twitter and type in Boris Johnson Scotland or something, and you'll see.
I do. I will say, one of my favorite subreddits is the Scottish Twitter subreddit. It is.
Yes.
There's almost no way to have a better time on a Friday night than to scroll through there.
It is. It's brilliant. Amazing. Rand, tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your book, and yeah.
So my new company is SparkToro. That's where I've been blogging. You can find the book there as well. And if you want to check out all the crazy things I have to say on Twitter, I'm at RandFish.
Amazing. Rand, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've loved this chat, and I'm sure everyone listening has too.
My pleasure, Gavin. Thank you for having me.
Hey team, me again. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video version of the podcast. And I hope you took something away from that. Maybe a smile, maybe something of inspiration, or maybe an idea came to your mind. Be sure to drop me a comment and let me know what that thing was for you. Now, if you want to listen to more or watch more episodes of the podcast, you can do that here on YouTube or Facebook, or head over to Apple Podcasts or the podcasting platform of your choice. Just be sure to hit subscribe, leave us a little review and a 5-star rating, and I will love you forever. See you in the next episode.